Hi, best friend. Okay, let's talk China, money, and saving. Just manage your expectations. Okay, so a lot of people come, there's two groups of people. A lot of people come here to see the world, travel, and do other things, just have fun. They just come because they need a break from their lives. And then there's usually a lot of people who come here as well to save more money so that they can get a break from debt, or so they can pay off their debt. So it's two groups of people, and I was the latter. I came here because I wanted to save more money and pay off some stuff. I didn't necessarily have a lot of debt, but I just wanted a break because I couldn't save back home, and I wanted to be able to save money, and I just needed a break from South Africa. That's a different story. Anyway, so my thing was I'd be rich in 2 years. I'm like not rich, but I'd be financially stable. I'd have so much money saved away within 2 years, and I'd be able to go back to South Africa. My plan was to be here for only 2 years. Was I rich within 2 years? No. Am I rich right now? Hell no. Right? I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm not rich. So why? What happened? Why am I not rich? You ask yourself. Let's talk. I think there's many reasons why we end up not being able to save a lot of money depending on your background and depending on your spending habits. So my first issue was that when I moved here, I did not have money saved up prior, enough money. I had just a little bit of money. So I had to take up loans from a friend and from a bank to be able to pay for stuff here. So like my rent 3 months up front, and a deposit and a plane ticket that they reimbursed, but I had to buy it myself, and just other things, getting started here, buying stuff for my very small bedroom at the time, and other things, starting a new life. And I needed to do my background as fast as possible. It needs to be expedited, so I needed that money as well. I spent just a whole lot of money trying to get started here and just trying to leave South Africa. So getting here, now I had to pay back that money, right? I still also had my debit orders because I'm paying off some, not necessarily debts, but I do have like active debit orders every month. So still having that to cover that, and also paying off debt, the loan money. I just could not save. I literally could not. I only could save very little because I'm kind of like very strict about saving, but I couldn't save as much as I wanted to save. So that was my first hindrance. And then also, just when you get here, then there's a certain way to live. People go to lunches and brunches and dinners here. You don't have to go, but if your friends want to go and you're still trying to pay off that money, then there's a bit of contrast, because you don't also want to be in your house the whole time. You're not going to be eating. I don't know. There's just a different lifestyle here that in South Africa I could get away with not eating out at all, and I'd be fine. But here, I still could get away with it, but I might not see my friends if that's the case. Because if you step outside, you likely going to go to a Starbucks or whatnot. It's probably the case in South Africa, but I didn't need to worry about that. I'm just talking for myself. This is from my personal perspective. So meeting up and trying to make friends in a new environment. Of course, you're spending a little bit of money here and there. The lunches after church, because I used to go to church my first year with my friend. Then we'd not have to go, but we'd go grab dinner or just brunch afterwards if it was the morning service. And that meant that I'm spending more money. Not money I didn't have, but I just was spending money, was living as I was supposed to. So it meant paying off my debit orders, paying off my debt, and then paying off my lifestyle. And I was supporting my lifestyle here. It's not like you're just going to live here and you're going to be living on just 1,000 RMB. It's very, very unlikely. So your life here, your life back home, there's a contrast depending on what you have back home. If you have a kid, for example, you might not be able to save much. And then you hear that China is a very cheap, or is a very affordable place to live in until you are here, because you still need to pay rent. In my first school, rent was covered. I was living in a shared apartment as well, so I did not have to worry about that. but I did have to worry about the utilities because that had to come from me. It wasn't enough to cover everything. So you still have to pay rent. You still have to, if you travel every month from and to work, you commute, you need to cover that as well, which is not much. You need to buy your toiletries, which is expensive in my opinion here, especially if you're going to buy imported products. You still need to take care of your hair. For example, if you're a hair person, you don't do your hair like me. I do my own hair now, but I used to pay for my hair back then. You still need clothes. For example, because I didn't have enough clothes. Weird enough, there was just this thing in my contract that is going to be semi-formal clothing, and then you get here, it's like, wait a minute, people are wearing shorts, so now you need clothes that are going to fit the environment. I'll talk about that in a different video. So I needed to buy some clothes for winter. I didn't have enough clothes, warm clothes, for this winter, because South African winter is different from the winter we get here. So covering those things was just expensive. Life was just expensive to get started here. So there was no way I was going to be able to save in my first year. I saved just a tiny little bit, and then I used most of my savings traveling back home. And when I was home, I needed a place to stay, so I rented a place to stay and stuff like that. So yeah, you might not be able to save in your first year for such reasons. And then there's also now the issue of just exposure, just trying, as from a small town, so trying new things, a little bit more expensive, you're a little bit more sophisticated, you live in a big city, so there's that portion of stuff. Not necessarily that you have to do things because you're not forced to, but you want to try stuff with your friends, right? You want to go bowling if you are that type of person, or you want to go to, I don't know, wine tasting, for example, if you're that type of person. You don't have to, but lifestyle is different, like I said. So those things, those little things that seem little, like one Saturday, it's expensive. So you end up paying a little bit more for things to do for fun with people if you want to make friends. And then for most of us, it's supporting our families, where I was sending money to my account, for transferring money rather, to cover my debit orders, covering my life here in China, trying to save a little bit, supporting my family as well, because I had to send money to my grandmother to support her. So that as well, I mean, it's a very different topic that we need to continue talking about. For people who have to support their families, I don't know, progress just looks very, very different. You can't really do much for yourself because you have to make sure that they're okay. You are helping with kids, the uniforms and stuff. You are helping with winter stuff, and you are sometimes overcompensating because you feel bad and you feel obligated. So there's an issue with just boundaries as well when it comes to supporting our families that I've had to work on. And I'm at a very great place now, but I wasn't always like that. So that aspect of everything is just, I mean, you're grateful that you can support your family, which is great. God has blessed you, but it can be such a burden because you can't breathe sometimes financially. And if we're just being honest, it's not very fair that you can't even do things for yourself because you have to support your family. Am I complaining? No. But I wish all of us didn't have to do that, so that we try and flourish in our financial avenues instead of not having a choice, but having to do what we can to help in our families. So yeah, that's very unfortunate, but it's just reality for a lot of us, right? So when did I start saving? I started saving money in my second year. I got a raise. I was very, very fortunate to have left my first school. I talked about that. And I got a different job where I got a raise, and it was such a big difference. So getting that raise was very, very helpful. My first salary was 15,000 RMB, 15,500 RMB plus 30,000 something for my house. That's my first one, where I had to pay all those things from that money, which is like 32,000 rands or something like that at the time. And so when things changed a little bit, I was very, very relieved. I could start saving, but the problem was that I also went back to school, and I was covering my tuition fees for oh, my undergrad, my BA undergrad, I paid for everything. And then my honors, I got a bursary and I got a break last year. So I didn't have to pay a cent last year. I was so grateful. But before then, you can tell my expenses were like a lot. So saving for me was just like, oh my gosh, it's just, I don't know. I'm saving because I like to save, but I'm not saving as much as I want to, as much as I expected to, because I had a plan and I thought I was going to be rich. Remember, Nomfundo, you're not rich, but you said you'd be rich when you moved to China. Anyway, so yeah, my second year I'm saving. Life is better. I was able to breathe. My third year, things got a lot better. I started saving very, very noticeable amounts of money, which I'm grateful for. And then my fourth year, this is my fourth year, I've been able to save a lot more as well. But the thing is, it's like I've said, like I'm saying that I'm highlighting all the things that could hinder your savings and stuff. It's also largely a personal discipline thing, right? Because you have a plan when you come here, and then when you get here, you get distracted. It's so easy to get distracted from saving here. And because there's so much fleshy stuff and boozing everywhere. I don't drink as well, so for me, going out is not that expensive. So imagine if you drink and people are drinking for hours and stuff. I don't know how drinking works, but I know alcohol is expensive. So, and going out to places, it's so easy to get distracted. So minimizing going out as much as you possibly can, or doing things that are free, because there's this stuff that's free. You can go hiking, for example. It's like so cheap and it's sometimes free depending on where you live. Or you can go once a week out. You can't be going every week. I'm talking about myself, for example. That's how I'm able to save. And then buying clothes. I think I reached a point in my life where I was like, wait a minute. I'm never satisfied with my clothes. I've never said I have enough clothes. So I stopped buying clothes. I buy clothes because I need clothes, or sometimes if I see something and it's just once in a while, of course I'm going to buy something, but I'm not going to every week I'm buying stuff when I'm out. No, I don't do that anymore. So I've had to grow there as well and be realistic that I'm never going to say it's enough and it's not necessary. For another thing is I'm a sneaker person, right? I'm a sneakerhead. But I didn't buy sneakers for at least 3 years or something like that. I just bought 2 non-expensive sneakers that were just reasonably priced, and until I could afford to buy more expensive shoes and stuff. And just keeping up with the trends technologically, a new phone. I still use my iPhone 11. I don't know how old it is now, but I've just been using this phone since 2020 or something like that. I'm not bothered. I almost bought a new phone last year, but I was like, what for, right? I might buy a new phone late this year, but that also might not happen if my phone is okay. So just living within your means or below your means as much as you possibly can. Because if you're going to try and live a glamorous life here, you might not make it savings wise. You might, and I feel like if you're not saving money, some sort of money, doesn't have to be all your salary or half of it or whatever you deem fit, you might be trapped. It's like I feel like sometimes people are trapped here because they don't have a plan B. You're teaching ESL even when you feel like you don't want to teach ESL anymore, or you want to do something else, but you can't leave because you don't have a plan. You don't have another plan, a different plan. Just stuck here sometimes. That's how I feel. So I fear the idea that I'm stuck here and I don't have an option to leave whenever I feel like this is it for me, right? So yeah, it's just depending on who you are as a person and what you deem as important. I think it's not necessarily what Nomfundo has to say or what other people have to say. It's just a personal thing. Sometimes we say that we are broke, we don't have money, but sometimes it's really just our spending habits. So if you spend your money the right way, regardless of, there's no right way, the acceptable way to you, regardless of your pressures, just life pressures, debit orders, debts, student loans and whatnot, you can still save some money here. But it's easy to not be able to save money depending on how you live. I think that's my point for this video. It's so easy to just get caught up in this. There's a life here. There's a city life that people live that is sometimes tempting, the traveling all the time, the going out every weekend and stuff, that costs money. And if you do that all the time, I don't know if you can make it. So come with the expectation that you are either going to choose to live that life, travel every month, go to Japan and whatnot, or want to so bad. I want to. The borders are open, but I can't afford to do that. It's either my savings are not going to be healthy if I do that, so I'm going to choose to sit my behind in Shanghai. Of course, you get to travel every now and then, but it can't be your thing. If your goal is to save money, you have to choose, do I want to live this life, A, where it's just a modest life, I live a life of affording and saving and paying off my debts, or I'm saving, paying off my debts and doing everything and traveling and doing all the other stuff and buying clothes and whatnot. You're not going to have it all. So living here doesn't mean that you're able to buy those expensive clothes, you're traveling and whatnot. You can, but you're not going to be able to save. So you're going to have to choose between those two. I hope this was helpful. I'm not saying that you can't save. I'm saying that it's just not what it seems. Money is an odd object. You think you have it and then you buy one thing and then it's suddenly 9,000 RMB, for example, and it's like, wait a minute, I had 10,000, and then you buy something else, and then it's 5,000 RMB, and it's like, whoa, I'm broke. You know what I mean? So it's up to you. Use this when you come here as much as you can. Hope this helps. Love you. Bye.